True Crime. I'm Manny Rodriguez. In today's episode, we are continuing the Riley strain coverage. Now, after they found Riley, I thought that maybe, just maybe, this was over. Well, come to find out that maybe it's not. And so we're finding out even more and more when it comes to this story. You see, his family, they actually believe there might be some foul play here. They actually believe that he might have already been dead before he got into the water. Why do you suppose that is? Well, they've ordered a second autopsy, and this came with a new result. Well, don't go anywhere because we'll be right back and we'll dive deep and go down this rabbit hole. Well, my button wasn't working there. So, a second autopsy on Riley Strain has brought a lot of concern to the family. You see, this second autopsy, it shows that there was no water in his lungs. And that's what makes the family believe that he might have been dead before he entered the water. Now, if it wasn't for the homeless camp and the people that shared that they heard a lot of commotion up there, I probably wouldn't think much of this. But the fact that that account about Riley Strain is out there, and we have, as far as we know, that looks to have been true, that does leave a little concern to what could this mean? Right? What could this possibly mean? Because truth is, we are still learning a lot about this story, right? Well, we do find that the half naked body of Riley Strain was hauled from the Cumberland River in Tennessee. 2 weeks to the day that he disappeared after he vanished in Nashville after him and his fraternity brothers were out partying like young adults do, especially college kids. And through that, it's like, all right, he, according to a lot of the videos, he did look like he might have been drunk in multiple, like he had a lot to drink. It did look like that. And as we're finding, Riley Strain, he is to be held accountable for his own decisions, but it shouldn't have led to this. This stuff, especially if it was any sinister. Mistakes happen. People do dumb things, right? This is that part, if I had any concern, it's like, why didn't the fraternity brothers look out for him? And I know I've even said a couple times on here since we've been following this story that I was in a fraternity. And, when I stop and I think, maybe there was a time that someone was leaving the bar a little inebriated by him. I don't even know. But, I try to put myself in that situation and say, what would I have done if that was me and I saw Riley? And I'm trying to go back. We're talking about, it's been like 30 years since I was in a fraternity, right? Or almost 30 years. But an initial police autopsy, it found no signs of foul play. All right. There was no signs that he even drowned after leaving Luke's Bridge Food and Drink about 9:30 on March 22nd. But see, this second autopsy, which was put on by his family, kind of might bring out another story of this. All right, but we don't really know. You see, because there was a family friend, Chris Dingman, who's been in the news. He's been on News Nation. He's been someone who was posting a lot of updates in the Facebook group about Riley. All right, and the family friend, he told News Nation, I just hope that this doesn't get swept underneath the rug because the family deserves more answers than we have. And my friends, that's exactly why I'm doing another video. I thought this story was done. But you see, the family is still trying to find some answers. And at the end of the day, this is not about me. This is about what goes wrong in this crazy world we live in. And so his mom, Michelle Strange, she wants to know what exactly happened to her son before his disappearance on March 8th. He wouldn't be found for 2 weeks. All right. And, you know, Chris, he says, I'm not a crime person by no means. That's what he says. But usually water in the lungs means that you know they were alive when they went into the water. All right? But in this particular case, they're not finding any signs of him being alive before he went into the water. Again, there could be a reason as to why the lungs in the water, or not having any water filled in the lungs. There is a reason. I saw multiple people talking about this on Twitter about, yes, it could be possible that there's no water in the lungs, but the guy, Chris himself, he says, but usually water in the lungs means that they were alive when they went into the water. Okay, that would make sense, but sometimes there are reasons. But he says, so more questions. We hope to get some answers with the toxicology. See, the family ordered this. All right, the family, they're paying for this stuff to get done because the family, they want answers as to why he went missing. He was missing his trousers. Right? He had no pants on. He didn't have his boots on. His wallet was missing. And so they didn't find any of that when the body was finally spotted under a rock 8 miles downstream that Friday morning at almost 7:30 in the morning. Which, of course, no pants, no boots, no wallet. Yup, the wallet, I could see that coming out if the pants went with you in the water. I'm telling you, if it wasn't for the disturbance that would lead the man to say what's going on and someone saying he's just really drunk or something along those lines, it wouldn't raise a red flag to me. But the fact that that occurred, I feel like that needs to be investigated. I'm sure it has been, but what came about of it, right? Now, Chris Dingman, he says that, once again, one more question. But unfortunately, the only thing that was found with him, as the police stated in the report, was the watch and the shirt. That was the only thing that was with him when they pulled him out of the water. That does not make sense. Is that a fair statement? He says everything else was not with him when he was found. All right. So the Mizzou student, they were in Nashville. He was in Nashville with his Delta Chi fraternity members for their annual spring formal, which is generally fraternities and sororities. They generally have a big formal. They might have a fall formal, they might have a spring formal, but they were having a spring formal in Nashville, Tennessee when he was kicked out of the bar just after 9:30 that night. And so Strain, he said that he was going to go meet his friends back at the hotel. That's what his friends said. But again, after that, he was nowhere to be seen when the group returned from their night of partying. And his friends, they tried contacting him, they tried following him, they tried checking his Snapchat, GPS, but they had no response. And so they reported Strain as missing when they couldn't find anything to do with his location. They found that to be very concerning. And so they just knew he was last seen leaving Luke's Bridge, Luke's 32 Bridge Food and Drink on Broadway. Again, March 8th. Ever since then, they have been looking all over for the kiddo. All right? And he was even seen on surveillance. But, when he was talking to the police officer said there was no reason for me to be worried or to think anything of it. All right. He didn't sound like he was in a bad shape. But there is multiple videos that show that he was actually in pretty bad shape. And that's what's very concerning. All right. How did he get this little moment where he did not seem to be in such bad shape at that very moment? You can see him coming to a stop. People, look at his arm straggling. To me, this is very concerning. And at the same time, it makes me feel like he wasn't too sure if he was going the right way, the way he's kind of going back and forth. And so this would definitely lead to some questions, wouldn't it? It would lead questions to for me at least. And so now we're just trying to figure out like, okay, what else could have could there have been anything sinister? It's hard for me to believe that there could be anything sinister at this time, right? It doesn't mean that something didn't happen. Again, you had the commotion. And so he was seen in the surveillance of the cop. The cop even saw him, which would lead to like, okay, all right, I saw him down the road and he seemed okay. And so they released this, even just this image of him walking along the sidewalk after he left the bar. And he even, the cop even asked him how he was doing before telling him, doing good, nothing to worry about, I'm doing great. And he continues down the way. But the family, they're just not buying it. They feel like there's something worse. Why didn't he have his pants on? Something could have happened under that bridge. It's a homeless camp. All right. Now, I don't know of many homeless people that are out there doing bad things. So I'm not going to say that was an alarming moment or not an alarming moment, but he was heard. There was a commotion and he was allegedly, apparently involved with the commotion. But that was about it, And so with that, it's like we find out that, like, okay, he didn't have his watch. He didn't. He just had his watch, but he didn't have his pants. Was his pants in the water? Did they go downstream? Why would your pants? That's not normal when you fall into the water, is it? Okay, and which again, what's that going to do? It's going to lead to concern. And so Michelle, the mom, she's been all over. She is damaged. She is hurt. And here is his stepdad, Chris. And they both are brokenhearted. You saw his biological dad. Everyone is brokenhearted by the disappearance and then the discovery of the body. And this whole thing for 2 weeks, his family was searching high and low for him, right? They were looking for answers. No one had any answers, right? And so this was very concerning. And then, in a shocking turn of events, we find out that these two ladies would find his some card, debit card or credit card, not 100% sure, along the riverbank. To me, that is a little concerning. Another red flag. All right. And so you had this musician, you had this artist who are both true crime enthusiasts, and they were passionate about bringing Strain home. Yeah, at the end, there was a lot of people, right? There were a lot of people out there doing the search, but these two ladies came across his debit card. So with that though, was there ever any spending? Is that something that fell out? Because here's the thing. You didn't find a debit card, you didn't find a wallet, but they weren't together. That's a little alarming. To at least to me. I mean, the ladies, they were shocked when they came across this debit card. All right. It looks like it's a debit card because it says after banking hours, but a credit card can be held by a bank too. And so Harvest Bank, maybe. All right. It's in Arkansas, but it could have been distributed from Arkansas. I don't know what the front looks like. It's definitely a banking card of some sort. And through that, it's like, how would this happen? But those two ladies, they found the card as they were searching the Cumberland River's steep embankment, which is another red flag. As you can see, there's a lot of red flags throughout this with everything that we've learned, because down the embankment, that's where the homeless people heard a commotion up the embankment, right? And so as the ladies are searching this steep embankment along James Robertson Parkway Bridge, they come across the debit card. All right. And so through that, yes, because there was the homeless encampment, the Nashville police, they did search the encampment on the water's edge after people living there reported having seen the missing student. Again, you heard all the commotion. That's why I keep repeating it, because that's what leads me to, all right, no pants, no, and it's like no wallet, debit card even not in the wallet. To me, these are red flags. All right. We saw the surveillance footage that was collected by that had downtown smoke and vape shop. Their recording caught this, right? They're on Church Street, and it showed Strain near the intersection of 2nd Avenue and Church Street. And he looked very intoxicated. And he was wearing the two-tone black and brown shirt and blue jeans. And he even took a tumble. You guys saw me play that video multiple times. But he quickly gets back up and he continues down the street. All right? Now, I've tripped and not have been inebriated, right? It will happen. But when you see that video I even just shared with you, the way he's walking, he looks like he is not doing well. It's probably a fair statement. I mean, let me know in the comments what you think. Did you think that he was very drunk? I mean, did you think he was? I want to know what your thought process is on that in this whole case. What do you think? Do you think that the parents have wasted their time doing this, or they did the right thing? I think they did the right thing, because there are some red flags, right? And so another camera does catch him. So there was multiple cameras that caught him. But this other camera, which was on the intersection of Gay Street and 1st Avenue North, right before 10 p.m., and they saw him taking large strides with his head down as he stumbled through the streets. All right. This time they didn't catch him falling anymore. All right. But Riley, he had FaceTimed his mom that evening, and she said that nothing seemed out of the ordinary. No red flags to her, just her son having fun with his fraternity brothers. All right. Many times this has occurred, but not many times does someone end up dead in the water. Now, police, they had shared on X showing Strain walking along the sidewalk past that officer. And the officer, though, at that time was inspecting the broken window of that red truck. And so he was inspecting that smashed window. And that's when he sees him. And that's where it's like, but the homeless guy, he says that we heard a commotion. We looked back up. He almost fell over. That's what he said. He almost fell over. That's how bad he was. And he said that last bush right there caught him, pointing somewhere. All right. This man, he did not want to be identified. He didn't want his name out there. But he lives in the camp. He said he saw him. And he said that he was very, very, he didn't only say very twice. He said very 3 times intoxicated. And he says, I never seen anybody stumble that hard before. I yelled, get up. They said, he's just drunk. He's okay. Who's they? Who's they? The commotion, is that part of the they? Again, another red flag, because we don't understand that part. We don't have to understand, but if we want to be a part of trying to help her get some answers, the mom, because she says, I'm just not buying everything that they're saying right now. I want more proof. And so now there were some concerns about the police investigation that grew when the 2 girls, again, they're TikTokers. They are true crime enthusiasts, kind of like myself, or very much like myself, right? And so they discover the bank card in some debris outside the camp where the commotion was. All right. And so they find this bank card, and a social worker reported seeing a homeless man wearing a shirt identical to Strain's distinctive black and white one days after the disappearance. But that turned out maybe not to be true, right? So that's another reason why we have to be careful with who we know, or where we're listening to. But so the person in the encampment, his involvement, it appears to have been ruled out after Strain was, or the person allegedly wearing it, but ruled out after he was seen wearing the shirt in which he disappeared. So, that guy who was like, hey, this guy was wearing this shirt that looked very much like Strain. And so that guy who was allegedly wearing a shirt, it said that they ruled him out after Strain was found still wearing the shirt. That's what I mean about you cannot just take everything you hear. Maybe the guy's shirt was similar. All right. And then because they're saying like it's a homeless man, maybe the homeless man was in that encampment. But no, that was furthest from the possibilities, right? Because he would be later found in that shirt, but no pants. And so his family, which again, he went to the University of Missouri, which is about an hour and a half from here, right? His family lives in Missouri, right? But his family back in Missouri, they're concerned that investigators are not focusing on those people who may have been the last to see their son alive. Are they referring to who? Right? Who? Now, Chris Dingman, the family friend, he says, one of the people of interest, an hour after Riley was found, I was back at that scene and just happened to see that person. Who's this person of interest? Who's this person of interest that Chris is saying that he saw multiple times? Well, kind of a red flag. You gotta check everything out. Could mean nothing, right? Those two ladies probably went back there multiple times. Are they persons of interest? Probably, most likely not. And so, but Chris says, and so we had a group of volunteers that kind of followed the gentleman. Is that stepping over boundaries there? I don't know. Everyone just wants answers. And Chris says we called the police, let them know that we have found him because we hadn't been notified they talked to yet. And was, basically that, hey, we didn't know. Did you guys talk to this guy yet that we consider a person of interest? Right? Did the police talk to him? So since he did not have answers, he wanted to know, is this guy a person of interest or not? And so he called the police to let them know that, hey, this guy that we considered a person of interest, we found him, but we hadn't been notified by the police, by you guys. And then he was told that no, that person is no longer a person of interest. So they moved on, right? What else are you going to really do at the end of the day? And, if you saw that heartbreaking interview, I was heartbroken for the mom, okay? Because she even says, hold your babies tight. That moment it's heartbreaking. It really is. She is beyond a loss of words. Her baby is gone. And so, she wants answers. Who could blame her? Of course, they're going to be like, we're just not sold that there's no foul play involved here. And so we want answers. And they're trying to find answers. They don't really know what could have happened to their poor little baby. And she's crying the whole time. Do you blame her? No one can blame her, right? She's a distraught mom. And so with that, it's like, of course, no one wants this to ever happen. But authorities, they said that there's no foul play related to what happened to Riley Strain. But the family just not buying into it. And then, my thought all along was that he fell in that Cumberland River somewhere because he was along that body of water the whole time. When you track the way he was going, the direction he was going, it literally looked like it was along that river. And so in that, it's like that's where uh, a worker who called 911. You can watch my short on it where I shared the 911 call. If you go to Deep True Crime, you're already on the channel. If you check out the shorts, I shared that 911 call when the worker found that him. When he found the body, he said, I found the body and it's Riley Strain. The guy says it's Riley Strain. All right. And so this guy, he was a worker for a local building materials company they unload barges at the river. And he says, we do this all the time. And he moves a rock and boom, there goes the body. This guy's going to have to live with that for the rest of his life. But that's the crazy world we live in, unfortunately. Right. And so, you know, there was someone else that Chris, the family friend, right? There was someone else that is like, hey, Chris, he says they had somebody else who were interested in. So there might have been someone, but Chris says, but we know from the homeless people that lived there, that was the person that was supposedly on the road when Riley fell into the bushes or whatever happened. And he yelled back down that this was just somebody that had been drinking. It was okay. Who's that person? Right? Because even Chris says. So once again, a little more confusion. I just hope. He says, I hope that the ball hasn't been dropped on this. That's the same reasons. That's the main reasons why I'm jumping back on here. Because of all that commotion as it was mentioned already. All right. And so Chris Dingman, he says, I think there's somebody out there that knows what actually happened that night. And we would love for him to come forward, and we need some more information. They are not sold that is he just fell in the water and that was it. Maybe he did fall in the water through an altercation. Maybe someone was trying to mug him and he fell in the water. Right? Because again, no wallet, no debit card in the wallet, because the debit card was found. That could have definitely been like he was mugged under that bridge, right? And I don't know. I'm just saying, why wasn't that stuff there? But the girl says, I found his credit card. Which is, again, it's so disturbing on so many levels, even when she finds his credit card. And she literally, this is Riley Lively channel at Nobody Left Behind at Anna Clendon, I think, if that's the end of it. But literally, as soon as they found it, they go live pretty much. Of course, they want their stuff to go viral. And they're but was this video already on? I don't really know the whole premise behind the whole thing. And through there, it's like you can even see it's the river. There's a bridge. All right. And so through that, they came across his credit card. They refer to it as his credit card. It could have been bank card, could have been debit card. I mean, bank card, debit card is probably the same thing. But literally, now we want to know, like, okay, is there something sinister? Is there more to this? We really don't know. What we do know is that the family wants answers, and that's the whole purpose of this. And through that, it's like, Deb, I still do not believe that. For me personally, I have not at all felt like he was. Nothing. I just feel like him and his fraternity brothers partied beforehand, and they go from there. But My friends, I'm Manny Rodriguez, and this has been another episode of Deep True Crime as we continue the story of Riley Strain. We don't know what happened. We can only guess and assume in most parts, right? But until next time, my friends, be safe, be careful, be alert. It is a crazy world we live in. Be safe. Peace.